Hello everyone! I had a couple of suggestions already to make a video about the greatest Brazilian chess player ever, Henrique Mecking, also known as Mequinho. After Bobby Fischer's retirement in 1972, Henrique Mecking was considered to be definitely one of the contenders for the crown. In 1977, he was ranked number 3 in the world, behind world champion Anatoly Karpov and second Viktor Korchnoi. And well, he probably, as he won 2 interzonal tournaments, he never managed to win the candidates. Well, at the peak of his power, he was struck by a very, well, deadly illness. I don't know the name of this illness, but it's some sort of a long-term neuromuscular disease, which affects pretty much everything. So some thought that he would even die, but he managed to beat this illness. But he didn't play chess for 10 years. But even today, at the age of 65, I believe he's still he's still the strongest grandmaster or chess player in Brazil. So let's see the game. The game was played in 1971 in Mar del Plata. He's playing against Miguel Najdorf. And well, it's always fun when someone plays against Najdorf and Najdorf goes for the Najdorf variation. The tournament was won convincingly by Lev Polugaevsky with 13 points out of 15, but this game cost Najdorf second place as Mecking really did a number on him. So Mecking has the white pieces and he plays e4. We have c5, the Sicilian defense, knight to f3, d6, d4, c captures on d4, knight captures, knight to f6, knight to c3, and Najdorf goes for the Najdorf variation, a6. Bishop to g5. We have e6, f4, bishop to e7, queen to f3, queen to c7. This is still the main line of the Najdorf. Making castles, we have knight b to d7, bishop to e2. And here, if Najdorf would have continued with b5, this would still be the main line of the Najdorf variation, but Najdorf decided to mix it up. He goes for rook to b8. And this will support the b pawn nicely after Najdorf starts to push the pawn. But this also allows Mecking to make his attack happen even faster. So he goes for g4. We have b5, bishop captures on f6, knight captures on f6, and g5. Knight to d7, and now bishop to d3. b4 is played, knight c to e2, and now knight to c5, attacking that light square bishop. Also, this queen is eyeing this king on c1. A rook h to g1 is played, and now g6. We have f5, e5, kicking the knight away from d4, knight to b3, and now knight captures on d3, queen captures on d3, and bishop to d7. We have f6, bishop to b5, now first with a tempo on the queen, queen to d2, and now bishop to d8, knight to g3, and well, in this position, Najdorf's king is perfectly fine in the center. Actually, there's no immediate danger of capturing this pawn on d6 because well, Black would get a very nice attack from this. So probably pushing a5 and a4 would be definitely a good plan for Najdorf. But Najdorf decided to castle. And well, instead of going for this d6 pawn, well, if you capture the pawn with queen captures on d6, you get queen captures on d6, rook captures on d6, and well, after bishop to d6, for example, or bishop to c7, Black would get sufficient counterplay for this d6 pawn. Though these two bishops are extremely powerful here. But Mecking didn't really want to go for this anyway, so after Najdorf castled, he immediately transferred the attention to the king's side with queen to g2. And of course, Mecking's idea is now he wants to play queen h3, queen h6, and queen to g7 checkmate. This would be lovely if he could achieve this. So Najdorf goes for rook to c8 now, making queen to h3 impossible because queen captures on c2 would be checkmate. We have king to b1. Now queen captures on c2 will not be checkmate, and Najdorf has to play queen to d7. Now stopping Mecking's queen to go to h3. But here Mecking gets a very interesting idea. He plays knight to f5. with the idea, well, sacrificing a knight, so if g captures on f5, this would block the queen's, the queen's attack on the h3 square. Najdorf captures the knight, g captures on f5, and we have queen captures on queen to h3. Now again, with the idea of queen h6 and queen to g7 checkmate. We have king to h8. Now with the idea that if queen to h6, then rook to g8, stopping queen g7. And we have e captures on f5. Najdorf plays bishop to e2, and this bishop to e2 isn't with the idea of grabbing this rook. This is actually a defensive move. Rook to g3, and we have bishop to h5. Najdorf wants to give up this light square bishop, so if queen captures bishop, then queen captures on f5, and well, Najdorf is defending this. White is still better, but at least he stopped the attack, at least for a bit. But after bishop to h5, Mecking isn't interested in this bishop. He plays a rook to f1, a much stronger move, defending his f-pawn and now threatening to capture the bishop. We have queen to b5. Najdorf attacks this rook on f1, rook to f2, now queen to b6, again attacking the rook on f2, and now rook f to g2 by Mecking. Queen to b5 again, with some ideas of queen to f1 check, and capturing this bishop now would be perfectly fine for Mecking, but he plays a very aggressive move. He plays g6. And although capturing the bishop would have been better, Mecking is still better in this position, but this does give Najdorf some counterplay. We have f captures on g6, f captures on g6, and bishop captures on f6, as, g7 was a pretty terrible threat. Bishop captures on f6, and now queen captures on h5. Queen to f1 check, knight to c1, and rook to c7, now defending g7 check. Mecking plays g captures on h7. And although it seems that Najdorf is getting completely crushed here, with a move like bishop to g7, this would actually give him pretty good chances. But as they were both in time trouble, here Miguel Najdorf actually makes a pretty big blunder. He played a rook captures on h7, thinking that, well, he's perfectly fine here. But he actually allows a mate in 3 with queen captures on h7 check, sacrificing the queen. King captures on h7, and now rook to h3 check. And in this position, Miguel Najdorf resigned the game because the only move is bishop to h4, and now rook captures on h4. It's checkmate. The king has nowhere to go. So yeah, a very nice game by the Brazilian Grandmaster Henrique Mecking. And they say that in those days, in for example 1977, he was so popular in his own country that they often compared him to Pele in soccer or Emerson in Formula 1. And his face was on the cover of many magazines. And like I said, even today, after a very long time of being inactive in chess, he's still the strongest player in Brazil. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Michael Hildebrand and Jack Fent for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check all my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon.